Oh boy, we are back and better than ever within the week, my brothers and sisters in Christ, because unfortunately, the people of YouTube, the depravity never ends. There's just no end to what, for some reason, people with large platforms love to do. Hello, welcome to A Nobody's Opinion. I'm just a girl hanging out in my living room talking about shit. And we've got some actual shit to talk about today. If you clicked on this video, you probably searched on YouTube the Kris Tyson situation, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I will be referring to them or her as Ava Kris Tyson. That's what their Twitter was the last time I looked at it, and so therefore that's what I'm going to say, because that's easy and that's that. And I really am not going to say too much about this situation, but there's one thing that really is sticking out in my head, and I don't think that Ava Kris Tyson has said anything yet or come out and defended themselves in any way yet. But before we jump in the video, if you're not familiar with Ava Kris Tyson or who Ava is a friend of Mr. Beast. This is, again, always a person. I have really no idea who they are, but it's okay. Ava Kris Tyson is a trans woman and friend of Mr. Beast who has been in his videos a few times. I don't really know. Honestly, I don't even care to talk about who Ava is or Mr. Beast or any of that stuff. You come to these videos, so hear me out. You come to me when you already know the facts and you just want to hear an opinion, okay? Kinda. I'll throw some facts in here and there. But Ava is Mr. Beast's friend, and that's really all you need to know, right? Because if you're friends with Mr. Beast, you're like a famous person. Ava transitioned, I think, within the last couple of years, but for some reason is now resurfaced this YouTuber who I will be flashing on the screen and whose name escapes me. And you're probably thinking, why don't you just look it up? Stop being so lazy. I won't. Here they are, though. Here's a picture, which is even better than me just saying it. They made a video talking about Ava's past behavior on Twitter and maybe some relationship that she had with Twitter user and with a Lala artist and creator on Twitter, Shadman. Again, like I said, if you're here, you know who these people are, kinda, because you know as much about them as I do. Shadman is an artist who would typically and excitingly, by choice, draw images of underage characters in inappropriate ways. And apparently Ava / Kris Tyson at the time was like all in, down to clown, so much so that they had a poster from Shadman that they had drawn in their house. There's actually a screenshot. Mr. Beast is looking right at it, so, you know, everybody's pretty aware of what's going on. At least that Ava likes that kind of stuff, or Kris liked that stuff at the time. But there's something that just keeps going on in my head, and honestly, I don't know if this video is going to get me canceled or not, but who cares, because you know, who am I really? I'm a nobody. I have nothing to be canceled about. But I just have a really hard time with any person who uses being trans as an excuse to get out of this situation. And I swear to God, I am going to be so fucking pissed off if Ava puts this type of depravity on that community and blames this behavior, whatever it may be. Oh, well, this is how I wanted to view myself. This is how I saw myself. Well, I'm sorry, but if you saw yourself this way and you wanted to see yourself sexualized as a child, that's also a problem. And so I just think if somehow, some way, this gets pinned on the trans community as if it's the trans community's fault, or Ava, if you decide that you're going to throw the trans community pretty much under the bus to justify your actions, I'm sorry, but that's so insane and ridiculous. I do not care that you transitioned. Your mindset and your behavior is your mindset and your behavior. And sure, maybe that's even changed now, and that's all fine and dandy, but I really don't feel that if you were so open about it then, that you would just stop partaking and stop enjoying this type of content. It just doesn't seem like, oh, this one guy gets banned from Twitter and suddenly Ava Tyson is no longer interested in Lala. I don't think that's the case. And all I'm saying is, as a nobody, I don't give a shit that you're trans. That has nothing to do with the situation. The situation is you apparently like content of underage children. And I don't mean just like it on Twitter, because if you're liking it on Twitter, that means you like it in general. If you're hanging it in your house, you like it in general, especially like one of the worst pieces that I've heard about of this Shadman's shit. Obviously, I'm never gonna go look at it. The only stuff I've ever seen is in other people's YouTube videos. But yeah, this is probably gonna be a short one because I really don't care to look too much into this anymore. Other than, you know, like, why is this becoming such a thing? Like, I don't know. Okay, this might be the video that gets me canceled, but I think that because there's so many younger people on the internet, I have no idea what it is, and I have no clue why. It is always the big YouTubers, you know, people that shouldn't be fucking doing this shit. The people have a lot to lose, and obviously a lot of the time, quote unquote, putting big air quotes in this, they commit these crimes or they do these things before they become who they are now. And that's all fine and dandy. But unfortunately, I know somebody who has been charged with this type of inclination, we'll put it that way. And the crimes that he was caught for were years before he was caught and arrested and charged. Before I knew them, you know, before they were ever in my life or a lot of my friends' lives. It all happened before them. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they just changed because suddenly they had a different and better life. I don't think that logic applies. I think that Pethan is online. He's got to get offline. Pethan has got to get offline because he just keeps saying the dumbest shit and he's only hurting himself. And honestly, I've been looking at his streams through other YouTubers. I'm sorry, Ethan. I should give you the view yourself. But you just seem like you want so bad to disagree with everyone, and it's like painful for you. Like, watching you stream looks painful for you, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that genuinely in a take a step back and ask yourself, is this what you want to fucking do? Because you look miserable, and honestly, it seems miserable. And I'm not hating on you. It seems like a miserable position to be in that you're in right now. And I feel bad for you in that regard. And I mean that genuinely, not like a fuck you, you're pathetic. I genuinely think you need to take a step back and like evaluate if this is for you, because you saying, oh my God, they've transformed themselves quite literally. Have you seen it? Okay. I don't know what world we fucking live in, but if you can suddenly just transition and then you're not interested in child content anymore, I don't think that that's true. And again, I guarantee you that some aspect of this is going to be blamed on their mental health because they hadn't, you know, they didn't know how to cope with what they were feeling inside. And maybe that's valid, but also I don't think it is. This channel's not monetized anyway, so actually I don't know why I'm always worried about it. There are hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of trans people who don't look at child pornography because they're afraid of being trans, or they don't understand themselves and they don't understand their trans identity. So that to me is not an excuse. It's not going to work as an excuse. I don't believe that suddenly this has been erased from you what you enjoy. I am so behind. So I recorded the first part of this video on July 22nd. So I recorded the first part the day before Ava Kris Tyson put out their response. I'm a slow editor, and so I didn't have my video done, and now this has completely blown up into a whole entire situation. So I'm just gonna quickly go over the Ava Kris Tyson response, how I feel about it, and in my next video I'm gonna cover all of the Mr. Beast allegations. So we did get a response from Ava Kris Tyson. Ava Kris Tyson did not exactly say what I thought they were gonna say, but I do still kind of think that in the future, or if she comes out again ever to say anything online ever, that she is going to kind of pin her behavior and her interests on not understanding herself, which I think is really whack. So, and let's take a look at this nothing burger of a quote-unquote apology, which really isn't apologetic at all. It's just saying I didn't really do anything wrong, but whatever. Okay, so here we go. Ava Kris Tyson on July 23rd put out some posts on X that said, I would like to apologize for any of my past behavior or comments if it hurt or offended anyone. Lol. It was not my intent. Seeing recent events, we've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things Mr. Beast and social media to focus on my family and mental health. So we now know that, at least from Mr. Beast's perspective, this was not a mutual split. Mr. Beast has kind of made it clear clear in his tweet that Ava Kris Tyson was removed from the team, and I'm sure that they did that fast as lightning, especially with what's going on with their Amazon show right now. Whatever. But like I said, this feels very much like boilerplate legal team apology. This is not an apology. I would like to apologize if any of my past behavior or comments hurt or offended anyone. That's just ass. Like the fact that you can't even come out and actually say anything. And again, this is like a manager situation. There's a lot of people, when YouTubers are this big, there's a lot of people that these issues go through before they can just talk about them online, especially something that could be made legal. So as much as I hate this response, I also have seen the back end of this stuff and how many people it has to go through to get approved to put something out like this. However, Ava's next part of her thread says, I want to add, I never groomed anyone, which is interesting because depending on what your definition of grooming is, you don't have to purposefully be grooming someone to be grooming someone, but I want to add, I never groomed anyone. The person who gets brought up in these accusations at LavaJS has vocally supported that they are false. LavaJS was someone who Kris Tyson was communicating with when they were like 13, 14, and they built like a friendship relationship when Ava Kris Tyson was like 21, 22, maybe up to 25 years old, and LavaJS was like 13, 14 years old. Now, personally, I don't know the intricacy of their relationship. However, Ava Kris Tyson was notorious for having or sharing NSFW content in their Discord server. Ava Kris Tyson would call these young boys dad, just small things, or talk to them or make quote unquote dirty, edgy jokes. It's really strange when a 20 to 25-year-old adult man at the time, Ava's now transitioned, but at the time, these young boys were seeing a 25-year-old man who they looked up to on YouTube and calling them dad and interacting with them personally. It just doesn't seem appropriate, but again, who am I but a nobody? In Ava's next part of her response, she says, I don't want these accusations to impact the hundreds of people who work at Mr. Beast, which is why I have stepped away. Again, according to Mr. Beast's tweet, it doesn't really seem like Ava Kris Tyson chose to step away. It kind of seems like her and her legal team were like, let's try to make this as less bad for her as possible. To lump these two factors together to create a narrative that my behavior extended beyond bad, edgy jokes is disgusting and did not happen. In past years, I have learned that my old humor is not acceptable. I cannot change who I was, but I can continue to work on myself. Having said that, I humbly apologize to anyone I have hurt with my unacceptable social media posts, past actions, and to those who may feel betrayed by how I used to act online. So, like I said, pretty boilerplate response here. I mean, it's just not very good. It's not very good, and of course Ava Kris Tyson's whole team is going to tell them not to say anything probably for a long time online, so I don't think that we're going to get any side from Ava anytime soon. So Mr. Beast, being the businessman that he is, had to put out a statement of his own. He makes it sound that he kind of said, Ava, you're done, and he wiped Ava's entire existence from the Mr. Beast brand. That seemed like something that the Mr. Beast crew, Mr. Beast and his crew, decided to do. But what's not looking so good, however, is that in the video where we see that Ava Kris Tyson has the Shadman's lolly art in their house, Mr. Beast is in that clip looking right at it himself. So not necessarily a great look for the brand or for Mr. Beast themselves. I don't know, man. I just don't think that Ava Kris Tyson is ever going to be able to come back from this, especially now with what's going on with Mr. Beast, which I said I'll cover in my next video. So you guys let me know how you feel about it. I really do think that Mr. Beast might be going down in an Indian round, if you know what I mean. In my real life, I was on a podcast of probably about 6 months ago, and I had said to the host that there's something about Mr. Beast that's not quite right, and I didn't know how to like vocalize that or put that into words at the time, but now I'm realizing that the issue with Mr. Beast has never been that he does great things for people. For me, it's never that he's taken the videos of him doing the great things for these people, because again, he uses the money he generates from YouTube to help the people that he's helping in these videos, which I think is all fine and dandy. But I realized, kind of thinking about it deeper after I'd left the podcast, that he has a hero complex. I like to compare the way he helps people to the way that Soft White Underbelly helps people. Of course, Soft White Underbelly shows people that are of obscure walks of life, who maybe are less fortunate than your average person on YouTube, and he puts them on YouTube and interviews them. And a lot of people say like, oh my god, you're exploiting these people for money. However, he also uses the money that he generates from YouTube to help these people. And Mark Laeta, who is the host of that channel, what he doesn't do is make the channel about him and make himself the hero. Obviously, in the last like 6 months to a year, there's been a whole thing with Soft White Underbelly and the Whitakers and all of that, and so Mark Laeta has been more present on his own channel. But originally, he was never framing himself as the hero, and that's the difference between him and Jimmy. Jimmy frames himself as a hero to young kids, like, oh my god, look at, I'm pretty much a god, and that's really dangerous. So I'm getting way off base here. Ava Kris Tyson, I look forward to hearing more of what you have to say, if you have anything to say. This has been a Nobody's Opinion. If you want to share yours with me, I would love to hear it, and like I said, let me know if my opinion is whack or out of line, because genuinely, I just feel like I can see where this is going, and it's not going anywhere good. So it's been a Nobody's Opinion. If you don't like it, I don't know if I like it either. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. We talk about Mr. Beast.